What happens when we become the monsters we fight so hard to destroy? Well, let's find out together in today's review of Wolfman 2025. Hi, I'm Heather, and this is Black Cat Archives, my channel where I review all things horror, mystery, thriller, suspense, and more. So if that sounds like something that might be of interest to you, then stick around and let's get started. I saw my first horror movie in the theater of 2025, and it was Wolfman. Wolfman is directed by Lee Wanell. He's famous for the Saw movies, Insidious. He did a movie called Upgrade back in 2018 that was pretty cool. And most recently, he did The Invisible Man, which had lots of critical and audience acclaim alike. So Universal had a plan for all of their old monster movie properties to create a dark universe. And so this flopped with 2017's The Mummy, but in 2020, Lee Wanell directed The Invisible Man, which was a nod in concept to Claude Rains' Invisible Man, but really was a completely modern spin on it. Now here in 2025, we've got Wolfman, which, like Invisible Man, is really its own movie. It's a modern spin on the classic, so it's not like a direct remake. Christopher Abbott and Julia Garner play a married couple, Blake and Charlotte, and they have a daughter, Ginger, who's played by Matilda Firth. Blake is a stay-at-home dad who's in between jobs. He's evidently a writer, and Charlotte is a journalist who is a workaholic. Their relationship is a bit on the rocks, so they decide to go to this little house in the Oregon wilderness that Blake has just inherited. And when they do, they are chased by a mysterious monster in the woods and basically have to spend the rest of the movie trying to survive the night. So no surprises or spoilers here. It's the title of the movie, Wolfman. Blake begins to undergo a transformation into the Wolfman. Initially, the family is having to survive against this monster from the woods, and ultimately, the monster comes from within as Blake is overcome by this transformation. So this was interesting as far as werewolf movies go, because in my mind, it kind of isn't even really a werewolf movie, because it's not about someone who gets the curse. The full moon comes, and they transform very quickly into this other being. But rather, this entire movie is the transformation in one night of him becoming the Wolfman. So you get the sense in this universe that it's not a curse that comes and goes, but rather this permanent affliction. In the beginning of the film, there's some Native American folklore that calls this affliction the face of the wolf. And it's a bit of a legend, but of course, with all legends, there's a bit of truth. I really enjoyed how it used point of view and perspective from Blake as he transformed into the Wolfman to further the narrative. So as Blake got further and further into his transformation, his perception of his surroundings started to change, including how he perceived his family, which is something that I don't think we're really used to seeing with werewolf movies. It's usually just that really shocking external body horror style transformation, which we certainly get a lot of here. There's a lot of very gnarly gore related to the body. We're not in short supply of that by any means. However, this one seems to give us more from his point of view and how it feels as he's transforming. And there's a great scene near the beginning where they've escaped into the house from this monster, and he hears this loud sound, and as he tracks down what the sound is as he walks through the house, and it's just this overwhelmingly loud sound. Once he actually lands upon what it is, it's a bit of a shock, and you know that something is not right with him. His senses have been overtaken by something not human. So that was a really brilliant way to show the beginning of the transformation. And then they do a lot of cool things where the camera moves around him and he sees his wife speaking, but she kind of sounds like a Charlie Brown parent. So they use that throughout the movie to show the progression of the transformation. And it's a very clever way that I thought it was done. The movie has a great atmosphere in the Oregon wilderness and the setting of the farmhouse. They have limited communication with the outside world, so it definitely gives you a sense of isolation and anxiety. I also thought the performances were strong by all the cast. As a matter of fact, staying true to his past of playing roles in his movies, Lee Wanell, I found out today, does actually have a voice cameo at the beginning of this movie, so that was pretty cool. I really liked the dark feel of this movie, and that was made all all the better by the great use of cinematography and color grading. It was more like watching Helm's Deep than the Battle of the Bastards. If you're a Game of Thrones / Lord of the Rings fan, you know what I mean. It was very easy to see, despite the fact that it was so dark, at least in the theater that I saw it in. I was also sitting in the second row, so maybe it was just slapping me in the face and that was it. But I'd like to think, no, it was in fact a technical prowess there for it. So speaking on technical prowess, another area where it excelled was, like I said before, with the audio and sound design, like that part with the monster or the creature that he was trying to track down. Also the use of effects on his voice as he transformed. And again, in those moments where you're seeing things from his perspective or his point of view, the way they distorted the sound, not only the voices, but this kind of overall, like he's hearing the whole world differently, you know? So that was really cool. But those are sort of all of my positives about this movie. So some of the areas in the movie that weren't as strong were related to the theme and the metaphor of the movie. So as I started this video, a lot of what it's trying to explore is what happens when you become the monster that you want to destroy. So while the transformation was pretty well executed over the course of the entire film, in that you got to really see how it felt as he progressed further and further into the transformation to the Wolfman, I think that's about where the buck stopped in terms of the thematic and metaphor explanations, because there were themes also established early on kind of related to family and relationships and things of that nature that never really got fully developed. I did find the movie to be pretty predictable, and obviously I'm not talking about the wolf transformation because hello, that is the whole movie. Leigh Whannell is known for these clever twists on something that is sort of a trope. So I was waiting for that with Wolfman as I was watching, because it is just very much survive the night. I'm turning into a wolf and I'm going to destroy my family and everything that I love. And I kind of felt like there would be some sort of twist at the end or something, some further comment on that. And it really was lacking there, because the one thing that I guess was supposed to be a twist was pretty predictable from like 15 minutes in. So I was a little bit disappointed in that. And I was disappointed in how shallow the characters felt, because they presented these ideas about the relationships and how they might grow or change, things like that. And they were just kind of squashed. It didn't flower into anything more than that. I enjoyed watching the movie since it was so immersive, especially in the theater. I definitely enjoyed it. It wasn't like I thought it was awful. But overall, I felt like it was just okay. I didn't even mention just the wolf transformation in and of itself is like not all that wolf-like. But like I said, I'm not even sure this is actually a werewolf movie. It's more of like a transformation movie, like The Fly, where you're kind of watching this person devolve into something grotesque over the course of the film. Or even like The Substance, you know? It certainly had some redeeming qualities, and I did enjoy my experience watching it in the theater. And it's certainly not the typical absolute garbage trash January release horror movie that we get. So I'm 100% grateful for all of that. But I don't think it will be anywhere near my top 10 this year or anything like that. I would say if you just like to see every horror movie that comes out, kind of like me, of course, you probably have already seen it or are planning to see it, and definitely go do that. It's not bad. If you're somebody that really enjoys the technical aspects of filmmaking and really quality visual effects and things of that nature, I would check it out. You'll probably enjoy it. But if you're looking for something a little deeper or a new hot take on an old trope or concept, I wouldn't really expect too much. So that's all I've got for Wolfman. I appreciate you sticking around and chatting about it with me. Please leave me a comment below about what you thought of Wolfman, and which Universal classic monster would you like to see most in the theater in 2020 something. All right, that's it. Goodbye.